Could Deuce take over as QB1? Way too early 2025 record predictions. And is Johni healthy enough for a deep tournament run? It's time for another Barn Takeover.
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. It's time for another Barn Takeover, my favorite part of the week, where members of the barnauburn.com submit their questions on Wednesdays. And then I break down some of the best ones, and we have some fun, answer as many as I possibly can. And we got a whole gamut of items tonight. Quarterback one questions, record questions for the football team for 2025, basketball questions, all kind of stuff. We're going to dive into that in just a second. But before we get started, we got to give a shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn25 to take 25% off. If you love salsa, but you hate the same old store-bought stuff, you need to give Uncle Keith's a shot. Great texture, great flavor, just a good homemade salsa with a little bit of a southern kick. If you live in the state of Alabama, you can go to any Publix across the state. If you don't live in Alabama or you don't live close to a Publix in Alabama, definitely check him out online, UncleKeith'sRedSauce.com. Save big. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. Let's jump right into it. Let's go ahead and have some fun. Right off the bat, D. Moultrie, MVP, one of the MVPs of the Barn Takeover. Will Deuce Knight take over the QB1 role before the end of the 2025 season? Not because Jackson Arnold's playing bad, but because Deuce is just better. Think Tua over Jalen. Look, everybody's excited about Deuce. I'm not going to lie. Everybody's pumped about Deuce. The coaches are pumped about Deuce. But I want you to understand, it's not because Jackson is bad. They feel like Jackson's been bad, or that they feel like Deuce is even better than Jackson. Okay, so don't take any of the Deuce Knight hype. I mean, don't take any of the Deuce Knight talk that you hear as anything close to the tune of negative of Jackson Arnold and Deuce possibly surpassing him. I think most of the hype around Deuce is the fact that he's way further ahead than everyone expected. Deuce, everybody was a little bit concerned. You're excited about Deuce because of the tools. Okay, he's got the tools. He's got all of the high ceiling attributes. He's got all of that. Okay, but you got to think about the last 2 years of his high school career. He had the junior year where it was just a complete mess. The transfer back, only completed just a little bit over 50% of his passes. I think a lot of that had to do with the back and forth. Had an amazing summer camp series between his junior and senior year, and then he had a really good senior year and exploded up the rankings. But it's a little bit, you're just not 100% sure exactly what you got. You have the raw talent, but what do you have as far as a quarterback goes, and how long is it going to take until he gets fully up to speed? And I think the excitement is coming from the fact that he's coming in with the right mindset. He's coming in already like obsessed about watching and breaking down film. They love the way the ball comes off of his hand. I think they're just excited that they feel like he is way further ahead and they've got something here. Okay, now that doesn't mean year one guy. That doesn't mean they're they feel relieved because they're concerned about Jackson Arnold, and Deuce is progressing fast or has already come in ready and further ahead than they expected. I don't think it has anything to do with Jackson Arnold. This is all about Deuce being ahead of where they expected. So to answer your question directly, I don't think that he will be the starter in 2025. If he is, it'll be because of an injury. I think they're still just as excited about Jackson Arnold as they are Deuce. You're just hearing a little bit more about Deuce. Deuce grabs more headlines. I just think they're excited about Deuce and where he is at this point in time. So, no, I don't think he unseats him in 2025, but I think they're fired up. They're going to do everything they can to keep Deuce happy, because I think they have a star in the making. Record predictions for the upcoming season. Also, do you have anyone that you expect to have a surprise standout season? Okay. This is a good point of the year to go ahead and talk about, record predictions. I feel like there's a life cycle. There's a life cycle for Boog when it comes to Auburn football, and it ebbs and flows. For me, this is a point to where I'm probably lowest. I'm probably lowest in Boog at this point of the year. And then as spring comes, it sort of goes up and up and up and up to, I think we might have a chance for the playoffs by the time kickoff starts. But this is like at the bottom. Okay. You start at the bottom and you kind of work your way up. But I really think the pieces are in place for this team to win at least 8 games. As a matter of fact, I think FanDuel has Auburn at like 7.5 wins. I'm looking that up here in just a second. But yeah, I think that 8-4 is very, very reasonable. I think you got the talent in place. I think that you should expect that at this point in time. I don't think that you should be expecting anything less. You got your offensive line you feel like's better. You got your wide receiver room you feel like's even better than last year. You feel like you got a better quarterback situation. You got another year with the defense. You've added some key pieces there as well. I think you should, your third year in the system, your second year with it being, Hugh's offense with Derek Nix and all those guys going back-to-back years. The first time in a while you brought back both coordinators. I think 8-4 is very, very reasonable. Very, very reasonable. So I think that's what I'm going to go with right now. Now, when you ask me this question in August or July, I'll probably be up there closer to 9 or 10 wins. That's just the life cycle of Boog. It starts off low at the beginning of the year and then just steadily climbs until it reaches its crescendo right in the middle to the end of summer. So that's where I'm going to go. I think that was his question prior to. Do you think that this basketball team could beat the 2011-2012 UK National Championship team with Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd Gilchrist? Look, there is no one on this planet that likes the Boog more than me, okay? There's no one on this planet that will probably over-exaggerate how good Auburn is or make some outlandish claims on how good Auburn basketball is, Auburn football is. There's probably nobody out there that's a threat to do that more than me, okay? So I'm prefacing that before I get to this answer. Could Auburn beat the 2011-2012 Kentucky basketball team? Could they? In a 5-game series, maybe they could win once. But I think that was one of the greater basketball teams maybe of all time. I mean, they went 38-2, undefeated in the SEC championship. Nobody could score on them. They gave up like 60 points a game. And they pretty much embarrassed Kansas, I think, in the national championship. I mean, there was nobody that could really even come close. I know they lost a couple. They lost to Vanderbilt in the conference tournament. But they just waxed everybody in the NCAA tournament. I mean, the closest, they had 2 games, the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 and the Final Four by 8 points. And then, well, I guess they won all 3 games at the end by 8 points. But, I mean, it wasn't like it was really close. They were so good. Anthony Davis was an incredible college basketball player. He was unreal. I just They just had more. They had so many guns. I mean, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 NBA players on that team. Auburn maybe have what, 2 legit NBA players? I mean, Anthony Davis, Michael Kidd Gilchrist, Terrence Jones, Marcus Teague, Darius Miller. Oh man, just a bunch of NBA players on that team. Gosh, they played good defense too. I just remembered like you couldn't score on them. You could not score on that team. They were so good. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think if it's a one game thing, I'm taking Kentucky 10 times out of 10. If it's a series, we might could sneak one out of a 5-game series, but we're good, okay? And what Auburn's done in this conference is probably more impressive, just because of how elite this conference is versus that one. But still, I mean, 38-2 in a national championship, 16-0 in the SEC. That team was nasty. Nasty. They would probably drum us in a 1-game set. So that's my answer for that. Don't take my boog away. Don't take my boog card away, but I don't see that one. Before we jump to the next question, we got to give a shout out to Rhoback.com. Go to Rhoback.com, use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off your order. Polos, hoodies, shorts, joggers, pants, hats. They got a little bit of everything. So show them some love. Save big. Rhoback.com. All right, keeping on. This is a good question. Rhett Lashley Burner, best name on the barn. Is Broome healthy enough to make a title run? Quick turnarounds in March, and after last night, it feels like it's at least on his mind. I don't want to look at last night. I'm sorry. When I say last night, we're talking about Tuesday. Okay, this is Thursday. So, and the question was asked yesterday. So, I don't want to take Tuesday night and pretend and not pretend and associate that with anything other than Tuesday night. I don't think Tuesday night has a bearing on anything before and after. I'm not making excuses, but there was a culmination of events that game was doomed for failure from the get-go. When you're talking about Denver Jones injury, the quick turnaround, Johni Broome, being a little bit banged up, already clinching the SEC championship, the big emotional victory at Kentucky. Look, it was just – and then you look at the brand of basketball Texas A&M plays. It was just a recipe for disaster. Now, to Johni's health. Is Johni healthy? No. The answer is no. Is he 100%? The answer is no. But the question was not, is he fully healthy? It's, is he healthy enough to make a title run? Healthy enough? The answer to me is yes. When you think about the tournament and how it's played, yes, there are quick turnarounds, but then you have like a week in between. Okay, you have a week to get rest. So the SEC tournament, we'll play the SEC tournament depending on how far we go in the SEC tournament. Let's say you play all the way till Sunday. Then you have like 4 to 5 days. You're probably going to play on Thursday or Friday for the NCAA first round and second round. So then if you play Friday, then you turn around and you play Sunday. But then you got another week off. So is he healthy enough to give you 2 games at a time? I think so, with that long period of rest instead of just game after game after game after game. You play 2 quick ones. You sort of ride the adrenaline, and then you get a long week to rest and stay, get back healthy. I think he's healthy enough to do that. I think he's healthy enough for a title run. I do not think he's fully healthy. Ankle, shoulder, I think he's got a couple of different injuries. I don't necessarily think that those injuries are what has held him back the last 2 games. I think Kentucky really focused on trying to neutralize him. And I think he just, he hurt his shoulder early, but I think he just had a bad game against Texas A&M. They were a little more physical, and he just struggled. He struggled inside, and that happens. Sometimes there's going to be bad matchups, and that was one for us. But I don't think it's anything malignant with him. So, is he fully healthy? No. Is he healthy enough to make a title run? I think absolutely. Cambo, Chad Bacon lasagna or Chad's bacon lasagna? I like, I've never heard the second one. And if you're wondering what the heck are you talking about, Zach Blackerby's mom calls Chad bacon lasagna, which I think is hilarious. But I think I like the second one because Chad's cooking. Chad's always cooking. Chad's bacon lasagna. That's another Chad's cooking reference. And he has been cooking the last 3 games. Need to keep him going. Need to keep him happy. Need to keep Rad Chad out there. We want Rad Chad. Rad Chad and Glad Chad are dominant. So let's see more of that. Let's see him baking some lasagna, cooking, whatever we got to have. Need Chad these last 2 games. Your boy George. I love that name. Your boy George is a big Uncle Keith's Red Sauce fan, by the way. He came up with the scoop on. The scoop. Get the scoop on code. So dude loves Uncle Keith's Red Sauce, and he loves Auburn basketball too. How would you rate Tahad's overall performance and his extended minutes versus Texas A&M, albeit in a loss? It's funny you ask this because Zepp and I talk about it on the Barn Hoops pod, which will come out a little bit later today. Scoring, you can't complain. 6 of 10 from 3. He was probably the brightest spot on offense. One of the bigger threats. I don't know if this was Tahad specific or if it was the defense that Buzz Williams had us in, HELL, that caused it. But the ball seemed to not move very well at all at Texas A&M. It seemed to stick. Again, I do not know if that is strictly on Tahad or if that's just the defense that they had. It would just put us in handcuffs, and we couldn't really get out of it. They did the Zepp clarified this. They did the 1-3-1 zone where it slowed us way down. You had to do the whole pitch over and pitch back. Whenever people do that, we can't figure it out. It's maddening. Like, I don't know why we can't get the ball across the court fast enough, because then when we finally do get the ball across the court, we have to speed everything up. We can't get in our sets. We're looking back for a play, and it's under 20 seconds on the shot clock, and then we just have to rush something, and we can't get a good look. I don't know if that had as much to do with Tahad as it did the defense, but, I mean, if you got to just look at the overall performance, I think he had 3 assists, a bunch of points, but the offense was bogged down, and he was sort of the leader of the offense. So I don't know that I can give a full grade off of one game, but I would say offensively he was an A+. But then just overall, I'm going to say undecided. I hope that's not if that's not a cop out. I'm going to say undecided on the overall performance, just because I don't want to take anything away too much from Tuesday's game. I don't want to take much away from that as far as like stacking that onto the next game and the next game and the next game as that's their trajectory, because I just think that was a perfect storm of events that mean nothing moving forward. I really don't. So, and the last one, also from your boy George, that I love, is Chad Bacon. Now it's in my head. I can't get it out of my head. Is Chad Baker Mazzara a longer, better shooting Katie Johnson? I believe I've said this on the Barn Hoops podcast. They are the same person. Chad Baker Mazzara is a Spanish-speaking 6'7" Katie Johnson. 100%. Like, they are the same. But Katie may be a little bit more, I don't want to say crazy, a little bit more intense. Let's just say that. Let's go with intense. I think he leads the country in technical fouls coming off the bench at George Mason, which is so impressive. Like, I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. Like, how do you come off the bench and lead the world in technical fouls? He did that last year, though. He flips a switch when he gets on the court, man, and it's like an alternate ego comes out. But Chad's very similar. Chad's probably got a little bit more control, which is insane to say. But I think that's a great comparison. He's KD Johnson, but he's just taller and a little bit better shooter. They both have a little dog in them, though, that they can take over a game. They can make stuff happen. They can shoot good free throws. Chad's a little bit better. They both can get to the hole and finish. KD was going to be, if KD got to the hole, he was going to be in a cheerleader's lap about every other time. Like, he was going to hit the court, but he'd get back up and he'd do it again because he's smaller. He's going to get banged around. Chad's just doesn't have much meat on him, so he gets knocked around too. So they're very similar. They are very similar players, and I think that's an awesome comparison. I believe I've made it a couple of times. I totally agree. Could not agree more with that. Another fantastic barn takeover. Guys, if you want to be a part of the barn and get your question asked, you need to go to thebarnauburn.com, subscribe today, and take $25 off your annual membership. Lock in for a year, get you all the way through the rest of the basketball season, summer recruiting, spring recruiting now, actually, football, portal, everything. And you'll save big at the same time. Also, if you need a real estate agent in the state of Alabama, or in the city of Auburn, Opelika, and surrounding areas, hit me up. You can hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up on Instagram, or you can email me at Krush with a K, Krush at thekeyagency.realestate. Give me a shout. I'd love to help you and your family find that dream home, sell that dream home, build that dream home, or hey, if you want to just invest in Auburn, got a lot of cool stuff coming up I can show you and help you plant some roots here in Auburn, the Auburn area. So give me a shout. Guys, I really appreciate it. Another great barn takeover. If you like this video, like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Follow me on Twitter, _Charlie_5. We'll be back again tomorrow. It's another episode of not the Barn Hoops podcast, the Top Button podcast. And dadgummit, stay button.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.